With the Chicago Bulls play during the preseason, plus the return of Lonzo Ball, many Chicago Bulls fans are now changing their expectations for the team heading into the 2024-25 season. On today's episode, I'm going to talk about things that point towards those expectations maybe being better, and also some aspects of this team that still could hold this team back from reaching that potential. We're going to talk about that, plus Josh Giddey's reported desire for $30 million, and we're going to dive into the mailbag. All that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bulls Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bulls news and content.
What's going on, Bulls fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bulls Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Bulls Central Pod on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And we're starting off with this, the expectations around the Bulls. Have those expectations realistically changed, and why have they gone up if they have? And I think when you really look at it, right, coming into this season, we wanted to see some growth and development from our young players. And when you really look at the young players, they were the ones that shined the most. On top of Ayo Dosunmu and Coby White already looking like they are ready to pick up exactly from where their seasons left off, which is already a huge boost in the arm for the Chicago Bulls. As a matter of fact, Ayo Dosunmu looks like he may have even become a better three-point shooter than what he was. And many people are asking the question, especially with Josh Giddey's recent contract demands, will Ayo Dosunmu eventually be back into that starting lineup right there by the side of Coby White? We'll see what happens when that's all said and done. But I think it starts with those two guys, right? Because those were the two that had the most step, that made the biggest steps and leaps forward last season. And of course, anytime a player makes that, there are some questions on, all right, is it going to now maintain, or how much more better can they still be after that? And they both have looked like they refined their games a little bit. Now, small sample size, and it's preseason, so we got to see if that's going to maintain true during the regular season. But so far, those two guys are exactly what we wanted them to be coming into this season. And Zach LaVine also looks locked in, right? He definitely looks locked in already. Looks like he's ready to do whatever the Bulls need him to do, and he's really bought into this system and to allowing the Coby to step up and things like that, and not really doing a whole lot of isolation ball as well, like playing and moving off the ball. So those are things that definitely point in the direction of the expectations going up. But to get back to those young players that I mentioned a little while ago, Matas Buzelis, Julian Phillips, and Dalen Terry all look ready to contribute. Now, to the levels that they're ready to contribute, there's some conversation still around that. But I don't think many people can argue that they very much so look like better players than what they ended last season on for Julian and Dalen Terry. And then for Matas Buzelis, he looks ready, right? As far as like ready to contribute. Sometimes rookies just, you can tell like, hey, are they going to be able to contribute? Are they going to, is it going to be too much foul trouble? Or do they have to really, add and round out their game? Like Dalen. Dalen wasn't ready when he first got drafted, right? But Matas Buzelis looks like a player that is ready to do whatever it takes to contribute. He gets effort defensively. He rebounds the ball. He gets in the passing lanes. He can get out and run with this team, especially with that bench unit. And having a rookie that really is coming in and probably has the most expectations of any rookie that AK and Eversley have drafted, right? And he seems like he's ready and willing, and he wants to live up to that, right? Even when the Bulls drafted Patrick Williams 4th overall, it was kind of an unknown. Like, yeah, we had expectations because it was 4th overall, but like there wasn't a large sample size of Patrick Williams, right, to really look at because he came off the bench in college. Ayo was a second-round pick. Those expectations weren't high. And Dalen and Julian Phillips were kind of unknown commodities as well, or we knew like Dalen was extremely raw. So these guys all looking like they're ready to make a step is a big deal, and especially Julian Phillips, right? And Julian, to me, is a player that he started passing up Torrey Craig last year. He was leading the Chicago Bulls in minutes before he got hurt in preseason, and it seems like Billy Donovan trusts him. Now, that could be because it's preseason. It could be because why play Torrey Craig, a veteran who we know what we're going to get out a lot in preseason. All those things could be true, but it just looks like Julian with his rebounding ability, shot blocking, running the floor like we need him to, that three-point shooting for a team that's going to need three-point shooting. If those things maintain, Julian's definitely going to have a role, so that definitely contributes to it as well. And then you look at the bench and the depth of the Chicago Bulls, right? All three of those young players I just mentioned would be coming off the bench. Matas, Julian, Dalen, right? At least for right now. Then you have Ayo, who's going to be basically a starter, your sixth starter coming off the bench, because I definitely think Ayo's going to still basically play starter-level minutes for this Bulls team. Jalen Smith looks ready to go, right? His per-minute contributions for the Bulls in preseason was great. He's basically stepping into again, very different. I'm not comparing the players or how they get them, but as far as just the production, Jalen Smith looks like a player that is going to be able to, if you can get him 18 to 20 minutes, he's going to be able to produce a near double-double for you via how he's looked in this team and specifically how he fits into the offensive flow of this team as well. Like, that's going to be a big thing. Having Jalen, who's able to run the floor. Now, he went 0 for 9 from three-point range in the preseason, and I really hope Billy Donovan has learned from that. Do not try to make Jalen Smith a three-point shooter. Allow him to use his three-point shot when it makes sense and to complement his game, but don't try to force him to be a three-point shooter. But through 3 preseason games, Jalen Smith had 17, 18, and 17 minutes. So again, averaged around that 18-minute mark. He put up 11 and 10 in the first preseason game with 1 block as well. No turnovers in that game. He put up 10 and 8 in that second preseason game that he played against the Minnesota Timberwolves. He went 4 of 8 from the field in that game, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal. In that game, he did foul out, but that's neither there. He had 1 turnover, 10 and 8. Then in the last preseason game, he had 14 points and 9 rebounds, going 5 of 9 shooting from the field, right? So efficiency is there. He averaged about 50% from the field, even though he shot 0% from three-point range. So again, he's shown an ability to produce for this team. So this depth that we have on this team is going to be special. And keep in mind, I've mentioned Miles Busilis, Julian Phillips, Dalen Terry, Ayo Dosunmu, Jalen Smith. We still got 2 other players coming off that bench in Lonzo Ball for whenever he plays, and THT. This is a deep team, right? And the depth of this team is another reason why it could definitely punch above its weight, right? And so when you look at that depth and you also look at Lonzo and how he can maximize, regardless of who, he's going to be out there with Zach a lot. He's going to be out there with Kobe some. But Lonzo in modest minutes, right? With Lonzo Ball's basketball IQ and Modest's how aggressive he is and how he moves to the rim, I expect that to be a combination that in games where Lonzo plays ends up paying off really well for the Chicago Bulls. So you throw that in there. Jalen Smith, much of the same way, right? But he's also, I'm sorry, Jalen Smith. Well, yeah, Jalen Smith too, you could throw that in there. But Julian Phillips as well, right? That another young player that's still finding his way in this league. If you just get active, Lonzo's going to find you. So I look at how Lonzo, because he's going to basically be coming off the bench that whole year, how he ups the expectation of that bench with the players that he's out there on the court with. That goes a long way. And then you got the guy in THT as well who, like, through what he showed in preseason at least, he's going to give effort defensively. He's going to be able to put up some points, and he's going to be able to put pressure on defenses, especially if we have a game where Modest Busilis isn't playing well or Julie just doesn't have it. You got THT there as a reliable veteran who's still fairly young himself. He's about to be 24 years old. And that's another thing that definitely benefits the Chicago Bulls team. So where things are headed right now and where they look right now, they just look like, hey, things are looking up for the Chicago Bulls. And so got to give it tons of credit for that. The depth of this team, the offensive flow. The Bulls had the quickest pace. Now, pace doesn't necessarily equal wins, right? But them putting up 121 points in the preseason is all things that point towards, hey, this team could be a little bit better. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows, right? We got to talk about the bad right along with the good. What are some things that could hold this team back? Defense. While we averaged 121 points per game, we gave up 123. What that means is that doesn't mean that those games still aren't going to be winnable. It means that the Bulls are going to be in a lot of close games. And one of the things coming into this season that I was concerned about was the fact that, all right, if we're in close games like we were last year, 26 of our 39 wins, we're in clutch games, who's going to step up? Now, somebody pointed out, and I wish I remember the user, they were like, well, Haize, I get that you're concerned about who's going to step up, but keep in mind, I haven't really known what these guys are going to do in the clutch because most of that went to DeMar. So maybe these guys are going to step up in that case and be able to give us a little bit more. And I would say to this, great point, because, yeah, you never really know what players are capable of until you have to rely on them, right? Or at least you choose to rely on them. The Bulls are now in a position where they're going to have to rely on some of those guys. And so, Zach stepping up, Ayo stepping up, needing Kobe White to step up as well. And, what Zoe has in his basketball IQ as well in games that he's out there. How this team handles close games is going to be a really important factor in how much they can exceed expectations this year, because while the offense looks great, the offense is flowing, it's still going to be some difficult moments out there for this Bulls team. And so how they overcome some of those close games is definitely going to be something to look out for as well. And then other things that could hold this team back, I'm not trying to pick on these guys, but I'm just going over what we've seen. One is Nikola Vucevic. Vooch had, leading into the 2019 season, Vooch had 7 straight seasons of a positive estimated plus minus EPM, right? And and that peaked at plus 4.9, but he has steadily declined since then. And last year finished at a negative EPM of 0.9. And I tell you what, through preseason, some of those things are looking the same. They're glaring right now for Nikola Vucevic. And while he's been productive offensively, defensively he's been trash when it's on the court. But we all knew that, right? We know that Vooch is not a good defensive player. And so the question is that when Vooch is out there, how much is he negatively impacting the team? Now, I'm not going to use preseason numbers, a big way to gauge that, but I will say this. Those concerns are there. And so Vooch is like the one piece. Really, when you look at this team, he's the one piece that stylistically doesn't fit. And how much that could hold this starting lineup back offensively and defensively is something to watch as we start the season. Again, I'm not blaming it all on him, not by any stretch of the imagination. I'm just saying that when you have a player and an aspect that clearly does not fit, you got to look at that as something that could hold your team back. And then as well, Patrick Williams. Again, not to pick on Pat because we know what P. Will can do, right? We've seen the flashes of it. We saw it in the last 2 preseason games, matter of fact. But P. Will is a really key point of this team, probably even more than in previous years because he's the defensive anchor in that starting lineup. He's the guy defensively in that lineup that you need him to be a big part, whether it's guarding the perimeter, guarding in the paint, whatever it is, you need him to be locked in. And whatever he adds offensively is icing on top of that, right? But a Patrick Williams that's aggressive about getting rebounds, a Patrick Williams that's aggressive about blocking shots, Patrick Williams that's just, again, aggressiveness. And so, again, these are 2 things, especially in that starting lineup that I'm looking at and saying, all right, little concern there, right? So these are things that could definitely hold the team back, as well as, I'll just say this, finding the right rotations. And that goes back to Billy Donovan as well. He's not going to escape this segment without being brought up. You got to also look at Billy Donovan and say, is your in-game adjustments, especially for a team that already defensively is starting off behind the 8 ball, is he going to be able to make the in-game adjustments needed for this to maximize the potential to win games for this team? So those are things that I'm really looking at that the Bulls could exceed expectations. They could kind of, maybe that could hold them back a little bit, I think is a better way to word that, and we'll see. Now, before we get into the mailbag, one last thing I want to get into is this Josh Giddey thing. Now, I had a emergency episode, a live stream once that came out that Josh Giddey wanted reportedly $30 million. And I'm gonna sum it up here very easily. Earn it. That's all it comes down to. If Josh Giddey truly does want $30 million, a deal that averages out to $30 million a year, which with the raises, maybe doesn't start off like that. It's simple. Go out there and earn it. And to earn it, what does Josh Giddey have to do? Rather than does he deserve the money or not? Because I know that that's going to be something that everybody talks about, right? What can he do to earn that money? And again, as I've done with a lot of things, I go back to the 2022-23 season for Josh Giddey. 17 points per game, basically. 8 rebounds per game, 6 assists per game, basically a steal per game as well. 2.8 turnovers. He shot the ball 48% from the field and 32% from 3. And for Josh Giddey to earn $30 million, keep in mind, $30 million is not what $30 million used to be. That's why I'm not having the conversation on if. What does he need to do to earn it? He needs to get back to that and be more efficient, even with getting those numbers. So a Josh Giddey that gets 17 points per game, but does that on closer to 49 or 50% shooting, because mainly what he's going to be scoring at is at the rim, in the mid-range. And yeah, I want him to take threes. He's taking on average 3.5 3-pointers per game and hit that at a 31% clip. Take those same 3.5, but hit that at a 36, 37% clip. That's a 4% raise over what you did last year percentage-wise. If you do those things, with averaging 17, 8, and 6, or 17, 8, and 7, 17, 8, and 8, right? If you can be in that area, you then have the negotiating power. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Josh Giddey has to go out and earn it. That means learning how to play better off the ball. That means backing up his words of him saying he wants to be a more two-way player and give more effort defensively. These are the things that we need to see from Josh Giddey. You want $30 million? You want to go to the table and your demand is $30 million? Earn it. That's just the thing. And again, I know this is an oversimplification. Go and watch or listen to that old video if you want a more detailed analysis, but it's just straightforward. I'm not even finna put a whole bunch of thought into this. Well, not to say I haven't thought about it, but go out there and earn it. Josh Giddey his level of play has to be, if you want that money, go out there and bet on yourself and go get it. That's the thing go out there and get it. Go out there and be that point guard that you say that you can be, that you've shown flashes of being, right? And I'm not going to be somebody that's, oh my God, but he went out of OKC Thunder because of this. They still were a better team when he was on the court. Go out there and impact winning for the Chicago Bulls team. Go out there and fit in, and go out there and be that point guard that sets up your other players, make players better around you, and still find a way to be productive on the offensive side of the ball. Because I tell you what, if you're that weak link where defenses can sag off on you for the whole season, and then that lets them be able to double team Zach and Kobe or whoever else, I tell you what, that point, you got a young point guard in Io, whether he moves to the 1 or the 2, that's ready to take your spot. And much like I said when I was asked, if you had the option right now of giving $30 million to either Io or to Josh Giddey, I would assume who's getting that money from me. And so for Josh Giddey to want that money, that $30 million is simple. Go out there and earn it. If you earn it, the city of Chicago is going to rock with you. Go out there and earn it. I'm just going to leave it at that. But all right, let's move into the mailbag for today, man. I want to start getting into these voicemails. The first one that we got, this one's from Reginald.
Hey, this is Reginald calling from Georgia. But just a couple of things to say. First off, the obvious, Lonzo Ball is pretty good. Won't be great. We got to see what his position is like after the game. Whether his knees is seriously any type of soreness or whatever. But I like the way he looks. The offense is running smooth. Just looking at him on the court just made me realize how much I missed him out there with this team. And one of the things that came to my mind was Steve Naismith talking about how Lonzo Ball is probably never going to touch the court again because of the surgery he had, and that he was nowhere near coming back because he couldn't even get out of the chair. It was like, what was this, like 4 months ago, 6 months ago, perhaps? And then Lonzo had to come out and show that, man, I could get out of the chair, I could do chair squats. What are you talking about? And then Steve was saying, man, I got your medical record. And then he had to walk it back, and that's the problem. But I'm just waiting for Stephen A to say, not only did he predict he was going to come back, he's going to come back 100%. I fully expect Stephen A to say something like that, or to move the goalpost to make it sound like he knew all along what Lonzo was capable of doing. But two more things I liked about the Bulls game was P. Will, he actually looked aggressive. He actually looked like he wanted to be on the floor, that he wanted to help his team win, that he wasn't just going to go out there and sit in the corner and, take threes and just wait for someone to get him a shot. He actually looked like he wanted to make an impact, which is all we ever asked for. If he could just give us 12 assists and still on the block, we're good to go. But last thing, just the pace of the offense. I don't know if Billy Donovan is calling the plays or one of his assistants, or maybe he just say, you know what, I trust my point guard. I'm just let them do whatever the hell they want. If that's the case, then that's the strategy he needs to go with for the rest of the year, because the offense is great. The defense is still going to be a problem, but we knew that from the get-go. But you tell me if I'm wrong or not. What's your opinion? Thanks.
100% agree with you. Lonzo looks great. And, of course, you want to see how it's going to ebb and flow over the course of the season, but I love that he has no fear. I love that he's not backing down. I love that he's not doing what we see some players do. And I'm not judging those players because, yeah, you need to trust your body. Lonzo seems like either he fully trusts that knee, or he's just basically out there saying, listen, if it falls off, it falls off. I've been hurt before. I'm about to go out here and live my dream. I'm about to go out here and do what I'm great at, and that's playing basketball. And to that, hats off, I commend the hell out of Lonzo Ball. The chair thing, though, it wasn't 4 months ago. That was over a year ago, though, Reginald. The thing with Stephen A when he got up and down, that was over a year ago. And so it's not that he went from 4 months to this. No, that was over a year ago. He's worked his ass off to get here. And I want to commend Lonzo for getting that done, because he attacked his recovery, and now he's attacking on the basketball court. And see how that's going to help this Bulls team. But yeah, the offensive pace has been very different as well for this team. And whoever on the coaching staff, whether it's Billy or Wes or Dane Craig, whoever it is, I don't care who it is, the coaching staff as a whole, they deserve to be complimented and commended for the way that they've been able to turn this team around. And it's not just because of DeMar. People will say, oh, yeah, it's easy. It's just because of DeMar. No, look out there and how the Bulls are moving without the ball. DeMar didn't stop players from moving out the ball. It's more than just DeMar. When you coach, and my coaches that are in here will tell you, when you coach something and you change something, you got to coach that into. So whether DeMar was here or not, it was on the coaching staff that they allowed these players to feel comfortable not moving without the ball. That does not seem like that's been the case so far in training camp. So while we still seen a little bit of it, it's just way better at attacking, way better at operating off ball, and that's going to really help this team heading into next season. Thank you for that voicemail, Reggie. Let's get into this next one. This one's from Brian Washington.
Yo, hey, good morning, man. This beef from the west side, man, mark my words, bro. I've been saying this in I think a few voicemails I left. Hey, we gonna watch something special here. I ain't saying they gonna go and win everything and win it all and all that, but this is gonna be an exciting season, bro. Like, if Billy Donovan coaches his ass off, and not just him, the other coaches too. We can't blame all that shit on Billy. You know what I'm saying? There's other coaches on their bench, but and I love what I see with Lonzo, man. If you like you said, if you move, he will get you that ball. Same thing I used to say about Joakim Noah when he used to get stuck at the top of the key. You know, Joakim Noah led the Bulls in assists at one point. And if they just stood still in the corner, but if you move, he will get you that damn ball. You just have to move, and I love the way the offense is going. So we gotta get that defense, straighten out, man. We gonna watch something special this year. Just mark my word, bro. And I'm gonna call you back and let you know and be like, I told you, but you said it too. We gonna watch something special. I like what I'm seeing. All right, have a good day, man.
Much like I said with Reggie, love the offensive flow of this team so far. Got to commend them for that on there. And I think one thing that's going to determine how good this team could be is when they face a good defensive team and they're forced to do more half-court things, right? And, that's going to happen. That's just part of the game of basketball. There's going to be times where you have to run your half-court offense and half-court sets. How good the Bulls can be in that. And keep in mind, you still, even with that, want to move off the ball. That's how you can still have a fast-paced offense even in the half-court. You have to move without the ball. So, the clutch time, those type of things, those are all things that I'm looking for, and those are going to be big determining factors for this Bulls team and how successful they can be, in my opinion, in this season. When you're forced to do things in the half-court, when you're facing up against a solid, sound defensive team, one of the better teams defensively in the NBA, how do you adjust to that? Especially because the Bulls' defense hasn't been great so far in preseason. So we'll see how that develops for the team, but all great points there, Brian. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one is from AD.
Yo, what's up, Haize? This is AD. Man, Lonzo look good out there. The Bulls, they're looking real good, passing the ball, moving without the ball. The roster is deep. A lot of people that can handle the ball. We look real good. I'm excited for this upcoming season. It'll be a real fun team at the very least to watch. But I'm not going to get ahead of myself though, because we still have to see if this team will be able to make in-game adjustments. We also have to see if this team can also close games, especially without having DeMar DeRozan. I wouldn't say with the in-game adjustments it'll be solely on Billy Donovan because, of course, with timeouts and before the team get out on the floor, or back out on the floor, he got to go and write up something to make those in-game adjustments, but also it has to be on the five that's out on that court as well to make in-game adjustments play by play. And so, at least from these preseason games, how we're seeing how fast-paced they're playing and just how many assists, at least in that last game, that they're getting, adding Josh Giddey to the team and then Lonzo Ball coming back. I have hope that at least the starting five will at least be able to start making adjustments depending on what the opposing team will do defensively. But the main problem, I think that's even more of a problem than the in-game adjustments would be closing those games. And the reason why I say that is because at least in the last two preseason games, the one before the last one that we just played on Wednesday, I mean, we were dominating the team by the first half. We were up probably 10 to 15 points, and we ended up losing the game. Of course, the starting five isn't out there and everything else, but the opposing team starting five wasn't out there as well. You know what I mean? And so it's bench players versus bench players, and still I want the Chicago Bulls bench players to be able to beat the opposing team's bench players. Also in this last game, the first game that Zoe came back, still we're up by 10 to 15 points. We only win by one basket, 2 points. And so the game just being on the line, and with us being up that much in those last two games, I just like us to be able to hold on to those leads and just close the games out. And so that's just something that Billy Donovan and the coaching staff would just have to spend a lot of time on. How can we close those games? Even with the last iteration of the team that we had before making these
in-game adjustments. And I said that in the first segment. That's a big, big part of closing out games and how you adapt to being in close games, right? And that's one of the big factors for this Bulls team this season. How do you adjust to being in close games? How do you hold on to leads? I love that you point and call that out because, listen, you can be a team that has a high-powered offense, but with the Bulls' defense giving up more points than the offense scores, there's always going to be that chance, right? So we'll see what happens with this, but that's how you develop your identity over the course of a season, right? And that's going to be something to watch as the season starts off early and how it finishes as well for the Bulls. How do they get better in-game adjustments? How do they get better at closing out games? Because now you have to rely on those young players. So those young guys are the reason why you're closing out games well. Great. They may have to learn that, right? There's something winning is something you have to learn in the NBA. You have to learn the right things that it takes to win close games, to win basketball games in general. And that's what can make this season so fun is this team learning. Watching that learning process, that I think is going to be key for this Bulls season. All right, let's get into this next voicemail. This one's from Jamal.
What's up, Haize? It's your boy Jamal back again with another voicemail for your 3 minutes. Let's get into it. It is funny how much of a difference in time 48 hours can truly be because I promise you, Monday, when we lost to the Bucks, even though that wasn't necessarily a bad game, when we lost to the Bucks, I wanted to leave a voicemail for you where I basically said it's done. The Bulls season is pretty much over. It's not going to be nothing special. Game over, man. Game over. And then in 48 hours, you have this damn good game against the Timberwolves, and we win. Granted, again, it's all preseason, so it doesn't really count. But then you see all these things that just look so impressive in the game on yesterday. You know, the team looks like there's a lot of gel that they have, especially offensively, between everybody. Zach LaVine looks like he has not missed a step. Coming back from his injury that was so minor, not almost that minor, but coming back from injury and surgery he had, and he looks healthy. Like his scoring is back to being that smooth scoring that we're used to. Patrick Williams looked aggressive. He made shots that I wanted him to take. I don't need you to always be a spot-up three-point shooter or shoot deep threes. If you get a mismatch, attack them in the paint, hit a little fadeaway jump shot. You can do that. Attack them in the paint. Hey, again, I don't need you to be super aggressive and average 30, but be a threat. Kobe White is Kobe White. The boy just continues to improve. But the hero of the game is Lonzo Ball. Seeing this man come back from the injury that he suffered and something that gone for 2 years, 2.5 years, I'm honest. I didn't know if he was ever going to come back. I didn't think he would be playing again. And he came, not only did he come back, he had a really good game. I think he was like 4-6, 2 or 4 from 3, gave you a block, an assist, a rebound, 10 points. Like he was just, and his jump shot doesn't look like it lost anything. He still has the same form. Like, man, it is really good to see him. Even him doing that little steal of the ball and diving into the bench. It's like, I hope my breath so hard when I saw him do that, but I was also happy because he did that as if it wasn't even a thought about it. It wasn't a hesitation or a second thought. He just did it, and that's what I love to see. I'm so happy to see Lonzo back out here. It's going to be interesting, like I said, seeing the season. Like you stated on your live stream, I don't know if we can really say it wouldn't be shocking if the Bulls get to 38, 39 games or maybe even push for the play-in. Again, I'm not saying they will or won't, but at this point, nothing to surprise me with this team. I think this season is going to be one for the ages just based off the simple fact there's going to be a lot of ups and a lot of downs. We're going to experience some of the highest of highs and lowest of lows. As always, C-Wed, go.
Yeah, LaVine looks amazing. Zoe and his productivity has been great so far. And I also think let's get back to watching what Zach LaVine looks like playing with Lonzo in the minutes that he plays with Lonzo Ball. Like, Zach was an all-star playing next to Lonzo Ball, some of his best basketball IQ moments and all those things, right? So seeing those as well, Lonzo's going to definitely help. And like I said, he's going to help that bench unit that's still trying to find their way in this league as well. Lonzo's going to help a lot with those guys also. But I think looking at LaVine, looking at Zoe this season and what they bring along with everybody else on this team, could really be a big factor for this team. And like you said, I think this is going to be a big season. And, it's going to be fun. It's going to be an entertaining season for the Bulls. And I appreciate that. Just got to see how many wins is going to come with that entertainment, right? All right, let's get into the last voicemail. This one's from Los.
What's up, CEO Haize? This is Los in Louisiana. So thank you for reading my emails and texts when I wasn't able to talk, but I'm back. It's been a while, but I thank you for that provision. When we can't talk or call in, you got another way for us to participate. I appreciate that. So I got to admit, you got me with that title. Got us good. Billy Donovan out as coach. And I know you said, yeah, you should have read the whole title. But when I got the alert on my phone, that's where it stopped at. It said ... I said, oh, man. So the first thing I did was stop watching your mailbag episode, and then I tuned in for the breaking news when that alert came on. Well, that was a good one. So I'm looking forward to this season opener. I'm down here in Louisiana. It's coming up soon Wednesday. We will be there. Since the Bulls only come once a year, we try to get good tickets. We got some good seats, and go Bulls. We'll have our Bulls gear on to represent, and we usually play the Pelicans pretty good. So I always tell everybody around me, either way I win, I live here, but from Chicago. And the last time we played the Pelicans, we won. So we didn't have to say a word walking out the arena with our gear on. When we lose over the years, then the crowd let us have, yeah, you wore that for nothing. But that's okay. I always tell them either way we win. Go Bulls and go Pelicans, except when they play the Bulls. But you gave a stat on Saturday's mailbag episode about the preseason games, 121 points offensive rating, 123 points defensive rating. So I know the preseason stats don't tell the whole story. So I'm just out there to get a rhythm for the game, see how the team fits together, and at the same time try not to get hurt. But if those numbers hold up, that means, again, we'll be in a lot of close games down to the end, win or lose by 1 or 2 points. Hopefully we're more so on the winning side. But the last thing I had for you, how many games into the season would you say, you know what, Zach fits with the team looks good, they still might not win a lot, but let's keep this unit together. And I feel like Zach, he's still my favorite player on the team, despite the Zach trade for the past 2 years, that talk. Or how many games would they have to lose before you say, get rid of this, blow this up, and let's keep our draft pick for next year? Thanks again for providing the best daily content on the planet. All right, brother. Go Bulls, see red.
Hey, first, thank you for your support, brother. And I hope you have fun at the season opener. Thank you for making sure you stay engaged and a part. And like you guys heard Lo say, you don't always have to leave a voicemail. You can send an email, you can send a text message. You don't want to talk. Some of y'all are afraid because y'all voices sound a little funny. You can leave and interact with the show that way as well. If you guys are on the YouTube side, if you just put in mailbag and leave your comment, it allows me to kind of filter, and I can even get mailbags from there as well. But listen, I hope you have fun in the opener, and a lot of close games are coming for the Bulls. I think you pointed it out great when you look at the differential and things like that. A lot of it are coming. A lot of close games are coming, and how the Bulls fare in those close games is going to be key. Really going to be key. Now, as far as how many games, I don't know. Listen, here's what I'll say. There's so many other factors that involve in that. We don't know where AK and Eversley's mind is with it, but it could be like if the Bulls team is struggling but Zach looks good, can you still move him? But then I would say that adds to the case of moving him, because if Zach's having a good season and you're still struggling, why keep a player that you're paying $40 million for? Now, I hope that this all works out and Zach LaVine ends up wanting to stay here long term, but I won't put a number of games on it because it really determines what the story is over those games, right? So I think if the Bulls have a losing season either way, maybe they look to move him then in the trade deadline and hope that he had a good season, or maybe in the offseason. But there's I think higher chance than not, Zach is going to be on this team at the end of the season. That's just where I said. I think teams may want to take a whole season look at it, unless the team gets desperate because of injury or something like that, on top of Zach playing really well. So I won't put a number of games on him. I'm sorry. I know I didn't answer your question the way that you would want, but the way that just my brain works, I can't put a number of games on that, unfortunately. But guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Bulls Central Pod. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. BullsCentralPod@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-270-2799. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bulls related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, go Bulls. Love you guys. See red if you can, y'all. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break